Hello BookTube. There's been a lot of discussion on BookTube of late about the changes in YouTube's monetization of channels, and a lot of booktubers apparently have been schneid as a result of this. I saw Webka's video, her January wrap-up at One Book, One Review, where she spoke about the fact that her channel is no longer going to be monetized because it doesn't get the same number of hours of views as BookTube requires, and well, as YouTube now requires. So I thought I would do my part, also to pay it back to a lot of folks who've shouted out my channel being a small channel recently. So all of the booktubers that I'm going to discuss have under 1,000 subscribers, and yeah, I would strongly suggest you take a look. So the first guy that I'm going to talk about is Shawn the Book Maniac. Now I speak about Shawn quite often. He is a Canadian living in Japan, and he has very interesting book discussions. He reads literary fiction and fiction that I have never heard about. But there's two things that I really need to recommend about Shawn's channel, and the first is his 112-page tag, which he created, which is based on a French literary prize, if memory serves me right. And what Shawn does is he reads page 112, 3 of them from different books, and then he analyzes them and talks about them. And people now are sending him blind page 112, so he doesn't know what books they come from, and then he sits and does it again. And it's very interesting watching his thought process. The other thing that I enjoy with his channel is that when Shawn does book hauls, he reads the first page, which means you really want to read it now, because he reads really well too. The next booktuber I want to talk about is Elena Makridina. Now, I've spoken about Elena as well on my channel. She was one of my first friends on BookTube, and Elena is a Russian lady. She enjoys science fiction, but she reads classics as well, and she does not shy away from anything that is difficult. She did ShakeTube, she's done the Decameron, and that lady has got balls. She's very interesting to listen to as well. She's got some very good ideas. The next person is Mark at Richardson Reads. He is a librarian, and you should see his personal library. He reads a lot of sci-fi, but when you look at his shelves, he seems to read everything. And at Richardson Reads, he does some discussions, and he does a lot of bookshelf tours where he discusses the books. And that's actually a really enjoyable series to watch, because you get a nice overview of a whole lot of books that you may or may not have heard of, or maybe forgot about. The next is Lia at Hyde and Seek. Now, Lear is an Australian booktuber, and it's great to hear it talk about Aussie books that we don't usually hear about. Lear is not scared to face complicated or more difficult personal sensitive issues, but there's something about Lear that, I could just listen to her talk all day. I find her discussions intelligent. She had one recently about the prescribed set works at school where her son is. Then I've got Beacon Hill Books, and I really enjoy her channel, and I also really enjoy the conversations that we have in the comments down below. She is really greatly involved in the community, and she seems to enjoy historical fiction but reads a lot of other genres as well. I have seen her read non-fiction and fantasy as well, and I have to love it. She is another person who keeps book stats just like I do, with pie charts and bar graphs and the whole deal. So I really enjoy listening to her channel. Then there is Peg, the book prize addict. And what is there to say about Peg that you don't know already? Because her name says it all. If you want to know about book prizes, she is the person to watch. Whether it's French, Australian, Indian, Peg has got the lists there. It's an up-to-date news broadcast for readers. But before then, Peg's channel was something to do with science fiction, I think. But yeah, Peg reads a lot, and it's always fun to see what quirky necklace she's wearing. Then there's Chris, Bookish Cauldron, and he gives great discussions and reviews. I really enjoy his critical process. He reads fantasy and well, more recently now he's got back into fantasy and literary fiction. And I don't want you to just take my word for this. I want you to see his part 1 wrap-up for January, where he discusses the fantasy. And when he speaks about a book I think it's the first book of that he didn't like. The way he actually broke it down and explained it, it made perfect sense. So I really enjoy watching him. Then there's Between Lines in Life. Maryam is from Switzerland. She's a student, and she's also very involved in the BookTube community. She reads classics, poetry, and there's also the side dish of art that she likes to deliver. But as I said, she is very involved in the community, and Maryam, I think, is going to be a big booktuber one day. Then there is Cheryl at crflamesfan, whose name I've finally figured out thanks to another video. Cheryl is a super warm and friendly book lover, and it was her book review of Dissolution that got me starting down this rabbit hole of Tudor historical fiction. But I really like the way she talks about books. She makes me want to read them. She doesn't do the heavy literary fiction, which I also enjoy because I like breaking up my reading. I don't want to have everything as a brain drain. Then there's Remembered Reads. This is Jen, and her channel is fantastic. Last year she did so many non-fiction reads with books that I thought were absolutely outstanding. I'd never heard of them before, and all she did was make me want to go out and read non-fiction, which is very unusual. She also reads graphic novels, but she also reads much more other than that as well. But she's a very well-spoken person, and she's very up-to-date with what is happening in the world, so I really enjoy her for that. Then we have Brian's Bookshelves, and what comes to mind when I think of Brian's Bookshelves is his love of your cozy mysteries, your older mysteries, your Agatha Christie's, etc. And he does a really good discussion as well, and he gives a good criticism on what he reads. And I would really recommend his Inspector Morse series wrap-up to see what I mean, because although he really enjoyed the books and he read the entire series, he didn't just blinker himself and go, yeah, no, they were great. He actually critically thought of what he was going to say, which I really appreciated. Then we have Marsha Osborne. Now Marsha, she was the first person who ever found me, other than my mom, on BookTube. And it is because of Marsha that I have the count number that I have already. And her story is actually quite sad because she left BookTube because she was being trolled. And she deleted her channel, and then she realized that she actually really missed it. So she's come back. And because she's come back, her numbers are tiny now. Marsha enjoys discussions, and the one that I'd like you to watch is her rabbit hole reading video. And yeah, Marsha is just a fabulous person. She's generous with her compliments, and she tries to promote other people. It's more like she's in it for the love of everyone else rather than for her own channel. But Marsha is somebody who should not be overlooked. And then I have a new booktuber. She's only been making videos for 2 weeks, and this is Susurrus. And she reads trance books, classics, but she seems to read very widely. She says in her own video that she reads a bit here, a bit there, a bit there. She doesn't complete any circuit. And there's something about her channel that I like. I think it's the intelligence of what she has to say. But yeah, I think, you know, a little bit of support there might go a long way in helping to boost her confidence. So those are, wow, an unlucky 13 perhaps? We'll just go with 12 plus 1 booktubers that I would strongly advise taking a look at and seeing. I will link everything down below so that you can take a look. Bye for now.